All right, 1 second. Bring this back up. Okay, here we go. All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, y'all, we are back. The Wrestling Heroes and Insiders podcast, aka The Whip Show, on 106.1 FM, WAKT, Toledo's community radio station. Now, this interview right here is going to be close to my heart because I'm about to talk about something real good and real fun, but something real serious. Right now, I got a WWE Superstar. I got a WWE Ambassador. I got a WWE author. And damn it, I got a humanitarian. Y'all know who it is. I want to introduce y'all to Titus O'Neil. What's going on, my guy?
What's going on, man? How are you?
I am doing good, dog. Thank you for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
You got this new book coming out right now. It's called Wrestling with Fatherhood, My Championship Journey to My Greatest Title, Dad. Now, I want to get into the book. Before we do that, I want to talk about a story I just heard on another podcast. It's going to kind of relate to the book. Bobby Lashley was just talking about that he wants to get into being a humanitarian even more himself. And he went to an event that you did, and he had never seen so many bikes, toys, and so many things been given out. And I want to ask you, in this book, you talked about being a great father, but doing things for so many people, has that always been your thing, man?
Yeah, I would definitely say being able to impact people has kind of been a gift of mine. The level of it has obviously increased with the platform that I've been afforded with WWE. But the heart behind everything, it all stems from where I came from. You know, I'm the product of a rape. My mother having me at 12 years old, being told I'll be dead or in jail by the time I was 16, and really kind of going down that path to be in that position, and having an opportunity to go to a place called the Florida Sheriff's Boys Ranch in Live Oak, Florida, really not only shaped my course to where I am today, but also to shape the mindset about being, you know, a person that gives back and gives back with dignity. And also too, I think we do a lot of transformational stuff in the world. You know, holiday season comes around, people want to be the best of themselves, but that's really very self-fulfilling, in my opinion, for most of those folks. Yeah, I think we all have the ability to do something great every single day. And I'm just blessed to have the opportunity to do it every single day. Like I say, based on where I came from to where I am, I'm the first person in my family to graduate from high school, first person in my family to graduate from college. I went to the University of Florida. I played football there, played basketball there as well my first year. Was vice president of student government. I'm in the University Hall of Fame. And so many academic accolades, so many athletic accolades, and so many, you know, community accolades. They all stem from the same place. You know, you treat people with dignity. You have an understanding that we're all one situation away from being in a worse situation. And we're all in one situation away from being in a better situation. And fortunately for me, even in my worst situations, there's always been something or someone to kind of come in at the right time in the season that I was in to help get me to the next level. And so, you know, Bobby came to one of my signature events. It's called the Joy of Giving, where we served, I think that year, 34,000 families with gifts, toys, shoes, clothing, food, etc. During the holiday season. And it's been a staple event for now 17 years. And so, it started at my church with giving away 250 gifts, and then I wanted to move it into the community, and it grew every year from that. And that even stemmed from the fact that I got a really nice remote control car at 12 years old, right before I went to the Boys Ranch. I'm also was a member of the Boys and Girls Club, and a white lady came up to me and said, you know, I'm giving you this gift because I wanted you to have a really nice gift. And that was the only thing that I got for Christmas that year, was a really nice remote control car. And I kept that car all the way into my junior year in college. And if it wasn't for my college roommate coming home a little inebriated, and me and him obviously started tussling, and my car was broke and fish tank was messed up, but I probably beat him for about 3 days straight over that car. And to him it was just a car, but to me it was the first time that someone actually showed me dignity behind why they were giving me the gift. I got this gift specifically for you because I wanted you to have a really nice gift. And I think that in most underserved communities, especially where there are Black and brown kids or kids with disabilities, uh, giving them an opportunity, whether it's tickets to a game or exposure to something, can really make them feel, dignified in that case, instead of just handing them a bag of, plastic bag with toys and passing them along assembly line style. And none of my toys are wrapped. They're all individually placed and by age groups. The kids actually go on a shopping experience. They pick the gift that they want, because most of the kids that I serve, whether it be in Tampa or surrounding areas or across the globe, my heart is for those that are in underserved communities, and most of them are so accustomed to being told you're only good enough to live in this type of housing, you're only good enough to go to this type of school, you're only good enough to get this type of job, you're only good enough to wear these type of clothes, and I want to show them differently. And in order to show them differently, you have to present it differently. And so, to Bobby's point, and I'm so proud and happy that I had a small um, bit of influence on what he is doing now and what he wants to continue to do, because he's a hell of a human being, and obviously a tremendous athlete, and he's utilizing his platform for good. So I'm a hats off to him. He's one of my closer friends in the business, and definitely have so much respect for him as a human being too.
I love to hear that, man. And man, please keep doing what you're doing out there, because people need it. You know that, man.
Mhm.
But I want to talk about the book itself, and like, first things first, we're gonna start off with this, man. What made you decide to write this one? I know you've always liked to represent, but what made you just say, you know what, the world needs to know this, as opposed to just a book about dropping elbows?
Yeah. I just think, for me, I never grew up with a father in the home. Like I said, I'm the product of a rape. My mother had me under very unfortunate circumstances, and uh, the the perception and the stereotypical rhetoric around being a Black father or being a father in general has always disturbed me, simply because that's not a true narrative, and they don't place all the other narratives around why, certain fathers are absent, and whether it's systemic issues or even issues with the mother. But I try to not isolate this book about race. It's really about just the title of dad, and I think that it's the greatest title that any man will ever hold. It's not WWE champion. It's not president or CEO. It's truly being a great father, and no, there's no perfect father out there, and the journey is different for everybody. But I try to touch on so many different points from me personally, also reaching out to several of my friends to contribute to the book, like Will Packer, movie producer, Mark Henry contributed to this as well. Dave Batista, obviously a very close friend of mine, and someone that can talk about fatherhood from a different perspective, but just kind of have different, Kofi Kingston, so many people that I respect as men, and as fathers, that I had contribute to this project. Simply because Mother's Day is tolerated. I mean, Mother's Day is celebrated, Father's Day is tolerated. And I wanted to shift the narrative of, just a little bit. And this is not a book just for men to read. It's a book for their children to read. It's a book for women to read, to hopefully understand from a male perspective, what fatherhood means to us, and a lot of men are feeling like, I'm only need to be a protector and a provider and I'm good. No, you need to be present too. Your presence is actually better in most cases than what you're providing. Sometimes we try to give our kids and our family a gift that may only last really for 6 months at the most, but the legacy that you create. And I always say, the greatest gift that I'll ever give my family and any man will ever give his family is the gift of a great last name. And I want to make sure that when my kids walk into any room, that I've set a precedence for them to be respected, to be respectful, to be received a certain way, but also to be perceived a certain way. And oh, that's Thaddeus Bullard's kid. He or she is they come from good stock, you know. So I'll be able to open up doors for my kids, and most men will be able to open up doors for their children and their children's children simply by having a great last name.
For sure, man. I'm gonna tell you, that's why the book resonates with me so much. You talked about your situation with your father and not really having one. I didn't either. But
Mhm.
also, I don't have any physical kids, but I have a godson that I've had
Mhm.
since he was 6 months. He just went to Jackson State College at
Mhm.
19. So I feel good when he calls me Pop. So,
Yeah,
and speaking of being called Pop, you talked about a story about a gentleman in the book, Mr. Blaylock.
yeah.
Would you like to expound a little bit about that to our people?
Yeah. Mr. Blaylock is a man that in high school, my ninth grade year, I was palming a basketball walking down the hallway, and he came up and bumped me out of nowhere. And he's a towering guy. He's 6'3", 280 pounds. And he asked me if I think I can beat him. And I was like, "What do you mean? Do I think I can beat you?" He's like, "In a fight, do you think you could beat me?" And I said, "No, you're a grown man." He's like, "Well, you're gonna have to fight me, tooth and nail every day if you don't get your act together." He's like, "I heard about you. I heard how great of a kid you can be, but I heard you got some rough spots, and I'm gonna do everything I can to help smooth some of them out. But you got to do your part." And he literally hand in hand took me, from ninth grade all the way to now, as a father figure. And he's the first. He's superintendent of schools. That's the other part too. So he's everybody's boss.
Yeah.
And for him to be in that position as a black male, he's actually the first and only superintendent to be elected in two different counties in the state of Florida. He went to FAMU undergrad, Florida grad school. He's a member of the greatest fraternity in the world, of the mighty Omega Psi Phi Fraternity
Talk to
Incorporated,
him.
which
Talk
I
to
am,
him.
which I am also a proud member of as well. And just how he took me in, he has three other children, and he treated me like his own. And I like to say that, like, the heart behind me doing what I did for my daughter, who I adopted a few years ago, really stemmed from what he did for me as a kid.
I love it, man. I love that, man. And I want to say one more thing. You kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but I want to expound a little bit about it. In this book, you talked about black men, and we're going to talk about that as well, but being Superman, they expect us to always be Superman. It's funny. That's the analogy I used to tell my wife about, like, man, how did your dad become Superman? Because I'm not that. And you use
Yeah.
that analogy in your book saying it's okay to be Clark Kent. We're not perfect. But you
Yes.
also talked about the stressors of being a man, being a father, because they want, and you're an entertainer as well, wanting us to put everything on our back. Could
Right.
you tell a little bit about how you got to that point in your book?
Yeah, I just think, first and foremost, we inherently, I think, as humans, sometimes think that we have to be perfect in order to do certain things. You got to be perfect to be a Christian, or you got to be perfect to be a part of the church, or you got to be perfect to be in a position to get a certain job, and this and that. And like, God doesn't, look for you to be qualified to get to certain spaces in your life. He qualifies the unqualified, and we're all unqualified when it really comes down to it. And so I think in fatherhood, like, there's no manual when it comes to like how you should raise a kid, and every kid is different. Every situation is different. Some people are raising children, as a single black mother or a single white mother or father or whatever. Some are doing it as, co-parenting. Some people are blended families. And I think that the stress of men in general, not just black men, but of men in general, is that we always have to be on.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we come home, you know, the attacks that we have in the world, we dealing with at home sometimes. And this is why I'm so adamant about men addressing their mental, well, all people in general, but especially men and black men in general. There's a lot of trauma that I think a lot of black men and brown men uh, grow up with, especially those that come from underserved communities, that we were just kind of taught to just get up, tough it out, you know what I mean? Don't cry, don't be soft, don't be weak, you know, these things. And it's okay to be soft, it's okay to be vulnerable. And vulnerability doesn't make you a soft person, it makes you a human. And I think that once people realize the human element of who you are, then they can understand that you're not Superman and that you are capable of being Superman. Captain Save 'em, that is not a real person. You know what I'm saying? Like we put so much emphasis on what can you do for me? What can you do for me? What can you do for me? That we as men are always trying to see what we can do for this person, what we can do for that person. And it's not just about women, it's our children, it's our friends, it's our family, it's our business partners, it's you know, so many different people that we have to pour out, pour out, pour out. And I think I'm glad to see the shift in the mindset of people actually addressing their mental health and their wellness, because now you realize that you have to start pouring into yourself. You have to start doing things for yourself. It's not selfish when you say, hey, man, I can't make it to dinner tonight. Hey, man, I'm going to go play golf today. Hey, I'm taking a day off and I'm just making it about myself. Like, it's 365 days. If you want to take a week, take a week. Whatever you need to take it. Because there's a lot of responsibility with being a father. And there's a lot of responsibility in being a leader. And whether you're leading a team, you're leading your family, you're leading a company, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that a lot of people don't understand because they're not in a position of leadership.
For sure.
And so, in order for us to be effective leaders, we need to learn how to empower people, empowered people, empower people. Well, I can't empower you if don't feel I have any power. If I can't talk to you, if I can't like minister to you as a husband, I think our number one job with our wives is not to just continue to provide, but really to be able to minister into them. And if I'm trying to, you know, hey, this is how I'm seeing things, this is how I'm doing X, Y, and Z, this and that, and you got constant conflict with that, it makes it very difficult for you to do a whole lot of other stuff because at the end of the day, we just want to be heard and we want to be respected. Um, and where there's respect in the home, whether it's from your children, your spouse, your parents, whoever, I think it makes for a more uh, complete family. And we need to focus as men um, on how to make that family more complete. And I think that the first and foremost, if you have children, that responsibility is taken with the utmost seriousness.
Yeah, man. Oh man, I'm glad you said that's going to segue to my next point, my next question. You got a whole chapter, Black Father, Black Children, and you
Mhm.
talk directly to the talk, and that talk that we have is different than a lot of other communities. You don't negate other communities, but you talk directly to that. What made you feel like you had to put a chapter like that in this book?
I just think it's taboo. People need to read that, you know, from all walks of life because it is a reality. And those that come from privileged backgrounds don't have to have certain conversations with their children, and they don't have to worry about certain things with their children. And as a black man in America, especially, there are things that I have to really warn my kids about. And some people will turn around and they'll say, "Well, if your kids aren't acting out, then nothing will happen to them." That's a lie. You know what I mean? Like I can show you numerous instances where kids were just being kids and they end up behind bars or being, you know, stopped, you know, because they're riding a bicycle in the wrong neighborhood or what's perceived as the wrong neighborhood. I just saw this clip that went viral on social media where a guy got, you know, the police called on him because he was going into his own home.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And you know, the reality of it is that lady could have got that black man killed.
Facts. Facts.
And that's a conversation that I want people to understand, that these are the conversations that we have to have with our Black children. And I don't tell my kids, hey, don't date white women, don't do this, don't do that, yada, yada, yada. Date, love who you want to love, be who you want to be with, be what you want to be. But at the end of the day, here's a reality that's going to come up anytime. If you even remotely come close, you and your girl, if she's white and y'all are, horse playing in public, somebody might perceive that as, or, this domestic issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and even if you're friends with people from the opposite race and you're horse playing and this is something you do all the time and people don't know that, it's just the first glance they see. My youngest son is 6'3", 240. At 18 years old, he's been looking like a grown man since he was 14 years old. You're not going to be viewed the same way as your white counterparts. And so these conversations have to be had with our children, but at the same token, people outside of the race need to know that these conversations are going on and why they're going on. Don't just sweep it under the rug as, everybody's not like that. Yeah, everybody's not like that, and I understand that. Everybody's not a racist, but sometimes you do prejudice stuff. Sometimes you do racist stuff not realizing it's pretty racist. Like if you tell me, oh, yeah, well, I've had some people say, well, you're so well spoken. Well, how did you expect for me to be speaking?
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or if you tell me, and I tell my friends this all the time, don't tell me you don't see color or I don't see race. I don't see color. All right. Well, if you don't see color, that means you don't see my race, and you don't see the trauma and the issues that have happened with people that look like me in this country. So you will never see why people get upset when they see certain videos of police brutality. Why they get upset when they see certain laws being reversed. Why they see certain things that have been put in place that people fought for not being uh, instituted, simply because folks say it's not it's not important, enough. It's not giving everyone an advantage. Well, part of the reason why we're in the situation that we're in is because the only people that had advantage were folks that don't look like me and you.
For sure, man. For sure.
So,
I'm so glad you talked to this, man. I'm telling you, when I read it in your book, and you went there. You talked about
mhm,
when people say all lives matter, and
yeah,
you
mhm,
and I'm just glad you talked about it. So definitely, everybody read this book. But I want to say something else, man. You just talked about if you have friends in other races, and you got a friend, or should I say a brother, Dave Batista, man.
mhm.
Could you talk to like how that union came about a little bit, man?
Yeah. I mean, we lived close to one another years ago, and just became literally instant friends. And he became an instant uncle to my kids. I mean, he met TJ and Titus when they were 3 and 5. They're 18 and 20 now. So long before I got into WWE, me and Dave have been brothers and still brothers to this day. He's been a huge inspiration to me for so many things. I'm not want to, I'm moving and transitioning into acting and films. He's a large inspiration to me in that space. Yes, John is, moving and carving out his space in Hollywood. Obviously, Dwayne has done a tremendous job of doing it uh, in Hollywood as well. But I feel like I can be very successful, and I'm confident that I will be successful in that space as well. And, Dave is a great supporter of mine, and he was one of the reasons why I tried out for WWE. He's actually the reason I tried out for WWE, and kind of led me to directed me on what to do and where to go. And for a few months I didn't do anything, and then it just so happenstance I was in South Tampa and went in the back doors of FCW, and 2 weeks later I was signed with WWE, and that happened in 2009. And um, obviously, the rest is history. The ups, the downs, the goods, the bads. Dave's been very outspoken when he needed to be outspoken, or when he felt he needed to be outspoken about certain things. Um, and he's been a real friend and a real brother. And I can't say enough how appreciative I am of him as a friend and as a brother, but more so also how inspired I am about, about, I mean, his path to Hollywood was not easy, but he is definitely, you know, he's an actor. Like, he is not a character. He is an actor. He's done multiple different roles in multiple different situations, and he has nailed it each time. And to know that, this is a guy that went broke, chasing this dream, that made millions at WWE and went broke to chase his dream, and now, never has to work another day in his life. Um, and he's living the life that he is, created for himself. And that's the ultimate prize I think we're all looking for, is to be able to live a life that we all want to create for ourselves, and continue growing in the respective fields that we choose to go into. And I look forward to sharing the screen with him at some point, but also to rivaling, him on the screen in different challenges and roles. So it's going to be an exciting upcoming future, and I'm looking forward to it. And he is definitely, like I say, he's a beacon of light in my life, for my family, for me, and for so many different people. Man, I don't think there's one person that you'll ever meet that will tell you Dave Batista is not a good man. He's a tremendous friend and a tremendous man. And again, to the point of, none of us are perfect, but he's been the perfect friend to me, and he's been the perfect brother to me.
Man, that's amazing. Love to hear that, bro.
Mhm.
Man, don't be trying to get me teary-eyed. Just listen to the story, man. That's what's up, man. But you know what? I'm not gonna keep you all day because I know you're busy, man. But it wouldn't be right if I had Titus on here and then bring up one wrestling story, because you won't even know this. Me and you have a small connection. You wouldn't remember this, but you went to FCW 2009.
Yeah.
Back in 2010, I was an independent wrestler and I got a tryout with my class. And that's how I know you were a good dude. If
Hmm.
you want me to edit this part out, I can. But you were having, I guess, some type of dental work done. But you still
Hmm.
came over and talked to me, out of all
Hmm.
people, and this was
Hmm.
just so super cool. We're
Oh,
just a bunch of nobodies, and that was just so dope. Obviously, I didn't get to WWE. I ended up doing the media space thing, but I
right.
just let people know he's real. Like, he's a good dude, because he could
Yeah.
have went out about his business, and you literally
Mhm.
came over and kicked it with us, man. So that's
Yeah.
amazing. Just salute for that, bro.
Yeah, man. Thank you, bro.
Man, now before we get out of here, though, it is one thing I like to do. We're gonna flip it just a little bit, and this is called the mark out moment. Now, when I say that, I don't mean you guys, oh, I'm going crazy, but or as a fan or whatever. But even though you're Titus O'Neil, you've done some amazing things in your world, wrestling wise, being a humanitarian, getting awards. But has there ever been one moment that you realized, like, yo, I met Prince and Prince knows me, or I was at this
Right.
event and they felt me, like, and you almost forget that you're Titus O'Neil, and like
Hmm.
little Thad would have never even been in this space. What was,
Yeah.
or if you had one like that?
Um. Hmm. Because I knew a lot of people prior to getting in WWE. Um. Hmm. That's a tough one, because there's
Okay.
so many people that I've met, but so many people I knew through other acquaintances.
Yeah.
Um. Hmm.
Well, take your time with it. I know it might sometimes that
Yeah.
way. I
Yeah,
get
it's tough, man. Like, people call me the unofficial mayor and governor of the WWE, literally because I know everybody.
dig that.
So, um, I used to always get compared to him. So I guess when I first met Terry Crews, uh, a lot of people were like, "Yeah, y'all definitely look like twins, this and that." I'm actually taller than him, and I like to tell him I'm more handsome too. But but a tremendous dude, and when I met him, he was like, "Yeah, man, I know exactly who you are." And then, like, literally, probably 3 months later, we were doing doing media for something and promoting something together, and he was talking about his brief interaction with the world of sports entertainment and wrestling with WCW, and you know, I think he's a tremendous. I mean, he's become a tremendous friend as well, but just a great dude that like nobody can ever say anything bad about. Um, but yeah, I would say probably Terry. Uh, my first time meeting The Rock though was cool too. When early on in my career, I mean, he's another one, a great dude that you know, $7 to his name into building what he's built. To now owning his own name that he created during his wrestling career. You know what I'm saying? It's a great turnaround story for him too. He works his ass off in everything that he does. He's definitely the hardest worker in the room, and it's evident. It's just in everything he puts out. And so, you know, the Undertaker is someone that, like, again, and then to sit there and be there for his Hall of Fame speech. Um, and I think the thing that stood out for me the most, which is very taboo in this business, is that he confessed, that he gave his life to Christ. And to me, like, that was the best part of the speech. Like, I knew some of the stories, didn't know all of them, but to stand on that stage and take that moment to acknowledge, where your religious beliefs lie, again, it's very taboo, and it's obviously we are all part of a company that serves all people, and so you have so many different people with so many different backgrounds and religious beliefs that like a lot of people don't really express, what their religious beliefs are. And I think that was very liberating for him, but also very encouraging for many in the locker room that are believers because they don't have many conversations built around that because of the environment or because it's. I mean, and I don't think it's just WWE. It's sports in general. I think it's more prominently spoken about maybe in football and in some cases basketball, but definitely not in Hollywood or the world of professional wrestling.
Man. And that's one thing about this interview I really enjoyed. I knew it before, but your faith is so strong. Just being a man like that, I really respect that and support that and salute that, man. And I'm just saying, if you ever decide to put the collar on, I'll be the first one at your church, dog. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it. I tell people all the time two things that I don't think are for me. I don't think that I don't think I'm a pastor. I cuss way too much. I don't foresee
Okay.
myself. But I definitely can, and I also will probably never run for office. I just think I think politics and religion has been so divisive for so many years. To me, I'm all about bringing people together, and I really don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat or independent or Christian, Muslim, Buddhist. To me, I think we all are born with the same gray anatomy. And, if I bleed red, the next person bleeds red, and we all make a decision that this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it, then it doesn't. I mean, I've never been to a hospital to see a kid, and that kid asked me, whether I was a Republican or a Democrat. I've never, been handing out toys or gifts to families and this and that, and somebody come up to me and be like, man, I really appreciate the fact that you believe in Jesus. It's not about that. I just think that you know I don't push religion, or I think it's a religion to me is not about the denomination. It's really about the relationship, your relationship with whatever God you serve. My relationship with the God that I serve should ultimately help us both become better people. And because we're better people, we help people around us become better people. And iron sharpens iron, yeah, but sometimes we have to take this iron and put it to the side and actually just be a little bit more gentler because certain people are not at a certain place that you're at. And I don't greet people with scripture. You know what I mean? I try to live the example and be the example instead of trying to read them an example. You know what I mean? And I think that where we are today, especially in this country, there's so many people talking about, well, look at what they're doing, and look what they're doing, and look what they didn't do, and look what this person didn't do. Like most of these people that are getting fired up about politics and the presidential office, they probably couldn't tell you who their local mayor is. They definitely couldn't tell you who their school board members are. They can't tell you who their county commissioners are. And those are the people that impact you more visibly and readily available to you than any of these people. They don't know who the superintendent of schools are. They don't know who the principal of the school that their kids go to, you know. So like my thing is you control the controllables and everything else is, I mean, it's going to work out whatever way we choose to view it to work out. Yeah, I mean, certain things we'll struggle with. I mean, eggs are still $20 a gallon, $20 a dozen.
Yeah.
So until y'all bring them the food price, I like to eat. So that to me, like, you know, all these things that people promise and don't deliver on or whatever, like there's a process to it all.
Yeah.
It's just a matter if you want to participate in that process locally or not. And for me, politics is not my route to make this world a better place. I have friends that are Republican. I have friends that are Democrats. When I do my events and I have 45,000 people at the stadium, it's not about whether or not they are Democrat or Republican. It's about them passing out these 30,000 backpacks with school supplies that we got to get to these kids. It's about making sure that these kids that signed up for these physicals get their health physicals. It's about making sure these kids that signed up for their dental screening so that they can get a cleaning or extraction or whatever it is they need. That's what it's about. To me, it's about the cause and the purpose. Why are we here? Why are we together? And how are we going to make each other better? How are we going to make our community better? And we can't do that if we're fighting and arguing about stupid shit, you know, left and right. And is all of it at the end of the day is temporary. And there are a lot of people making permanent decisions based on temporary situations. And um, I just refuse to make a permanent statement or a permanent um, decision based on temporary situations. You know, 4 years from now, we'll have two candidates arguing, fussing, and fighting about who did what right, who did what wrong, and why this party sucks and why that party sucks. And we'll be right back to where we were 4 years previous to this. You know what I'm saying? So when people understand that and they look at it that way, you don't get as attached to the rhetoric of what's going on. You get more attached to the issues that are more concerning to you, and you handle those things by getting involved locally. If you don't like the way the schools are going, figure out a way to get involved in your local school, your school system, your school district. Start building relationships with the teachers and the educators. Start building relationships with the county commissioners and the school board members so that you actually have a voice instead of just sitting on a keyboard complaining about stuff. Now you can, you know, if you don't if you don't like what's going on, I mean, there's certain things I don't like what's going on. So what do? I got a whole public school that bears my name on it because of me taking action. You know what I'm saying? I didn't feel like these kids in the six high zip code for children living in poverty deserve to have their school shut down or the elementary school shut down. And I did something about it. Now we're close to a B school, one of the highest performing schools, the most beautiful campus of all the public schools, with renovations and things that have been added and this and that, and it's created a culture of pride. Um, and that is not, you know, because I'm an educator, you know, it's because I value education. More importantly, I value the educational space because it unlocks the opportunities for kids to have and families to have growth in their life where they haven't had that growth. And so that's what that fires me up about education when it talks about health disparities. All right, I could sit here and be mad and be upset about it, or I can go build a facility and address those, and I can have partnerships, and which I do, and with Tampa General Hospital and Advent Health and Baycare and all these other organizations that are doing the work, and they're equipped to do the work, and they have resources to help do the work. All right, instead of just doing it downtown where people don't have adequate transportation, here, let's set up an entire prosperity center here where we can help this entire zip code.
Man,
Nobody thinks about that. I think about it. We act on it. Proof's in the pudding. We go to the next thing. So that's why I get stuff done. It's not because I'm the smartest in the room. It's not because I have the most money in the room. It's because I understand that a visionary doesn't have to have all the details.
yeah.
He just has to have the vision and the understanding that, like, it, you're gonna get some pushback on this, you're gonna get some pushback on that, or people are gonna be naysaying here and they're gonna be naysaying there. In life, we all face that at some point. It's just a matter of whether or not, if it's a true vision from God, like, I could care less what other people say, and I even tell people, like, hey, I'm going to do this whether you participate or not. I would love your support, but it's going to get done either way. And that automatically alleviates them thinking that they have power over whether or not these families get served, or this issue gets settled. Because it's not about you, it's not about me, it's about the vision that God put me in position to help come into fruition.
Man, you just gave a word, man. Thank you for that, man. I'm telling you. I hope you guys out there caught that, what he's saying, 'cause that's real talk. I've been saying that for a while myself, man. So, Titus, I don't want to hold you up, man. I'm gonna finish off with this last question. It's actually two, but it's gonna tie together to one. It'll make perfect sense. To everybody out there right now, I want you to tell them fathers that are thinking they might not be a good father, or they battling. Tell them just a positive word, and then tie it into, like, about how they can get your book and everything. But right now, just tell them how to be okay. Just give them a positive word to the fathers out there listening.
Yeah, so for every dad out there that thinks that they are insufficient, just please understand, and insignificant, just please know that your presence alone is significant. There are a lot of people that had their father in their life and lost their father due to death or due to estrangement or whatever it may be. But long as you have an opportunity to be present, you're already winning. So it's just, and you don't have to be perfect to be present. Sometimes some of the greatest gifts that we think we're giving our kids, whether it's a new pair of shoes or a video game or etc., like, those things are cool, but they just want your time. They want your attention. And so if you can give those two things and be present, like, shut that laptop off, shut your phone off, sit down, and I don't care if your 5 or 6 year old or 10-year-old kid wants to watch the same cartoon over and over again. You sit there and you watch it as if it's the first time you watch it every single time. Because guess what? When you get older, you're going to recite every perfect memory that you can remember as an elder. And if you ever sit around older people, they tell you the same stories every time you see them. They're reliving the same stories every time you see it. And you can't say, oh, you told me that before, granddad, or you told me that before, grandma. Let them have that moment, because those are moments that they have that were created for them as a youth. Well, you have an opportunity every day to take a moment to make a moment with your children. Do it in the simplest form. Hey, how was your day? Say, I'm going to carve out 5 minutes. Just let my kid talk for 5 uninterrupted minutes. Hey, tell me about your day. And then they're going to probably turn around and say, hey, how about your day? What did you do? This and that. Now you're creating a safe space to communicate, not only as from the youth, but as they get older. Now they're going to want to talk to you about their girlfriend or their boyfriend, or they want to talk to you about relationships with their teachers, or they want to talk to you about opening up a business. All these things, because you created that space by being present with your kids. And my children can come and talk to me about anything. I never, like, told them, don't listen to this kind of music and don't do this and don't do that. Like, eventually kids will make the right decision, and they also sometimes, unfortunately, will make the wrong decision. But you can't control all those things. Train up a child in which the way they should go, and over time they will not depart from it. You know, I truly believe that. Like, you place the seed of confidence in your children at a very young age, by having conversation, teaching them how to communicate. This right here, texting and you're in one room and the other, like, man, just get up off that couch and go say, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? Uh, I'd rather have conversations with my kids that are uncomfortable than to have them go and have the same conversation with someone else that's going to give them the wrong information. So because I said so was not a method of parenting to me. If I told my kids not to do something because I said so, it wasn't an answer. That was the answer that I got. But what you're doing is opening the door for them to go and get an answer, get that answer from someone else who doesn't have their best interest in mind, doesn't have a clear vision for them in regards to their success, and doesn't have a real interest in who they become as a person. And now they may give them information that may lead them down a path of death or destruction in one way or the other. So I'd much rather be raw and real with my children so that they can come and be raw and real with me.
I love it, man. I love it. You guys heard it. Make sure y'all go out there and get it. That's Wrestle with Fatherhood, my championship journey to my greatest title, Dad, by Titus O'Neil. You can get it anywhere. Amazon. Just, you know what to do. Get the book, man.
Yeah.
Get the book. Get
Yeah,
the
go right on Amazon. It's very easy. Go right on Amazon. It'll be to your house. Most cases, 1 day, some cases, 2 days. But however long it takes to get there is definitely worth the read. Go to Amazon, pick the book up, and share it. Encourage your friends. Once you read it, share it. Uh, in my opinion, it's the greatest. I mean, I've written 2 books now. The first one was There's No Such Thing as a Bad Kid. It's kind of derived from my childhood, but this fatherhood book, I feel like is something that, we can break down so many different things in the realm of being a man, regardless of what race, color, or creed you are. I think sometimes fathers feel like we're out on an island, and I think that this book will make people realize right away that it doesn't matter if you're a WWE superstar, a police officer, an actor, lawyer, doctor, like, we all feel the same and think the same way in some regards, and we're in the same position. And so, how do you shift that position to be present and also to understand the value that you bring to the table when people aren't really validating you as that valuable item or asset to the family?
Titus, man, thank you again for coming on the show. Like I said, we're gonna push this book. And yo, if you ever come out to the Midwest, the Detroit area, the Toledo area, you want to get hooked up with the Lions with the events with any of them people,
Yeah.
get my number. We'll talk it up. I'll connect you, bro. Whatever you need up here,
All
man.
right. Yes, sir.
Thank you
Thanks,
again.
man.
Good time, man.
All right.
Take care.
Appreciate you. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Awesome.